Hey YouTube, I was wondering if anybody had any questions on how to measure some of this stuff when you're making these cross members for the frame that I'm replacing. I'm going to show you two different ways that you can measure this thing. Now what I'm trying to do is make this cross member right here. So you can see it has like an arch to it. It runs around the gas tank, then it attaches to the frame in two places. Now one way that I do it to get the shape is to take green masking tape, the stuff you'd use for automotive, and put it at the bottom of this lip to the bottom of this piece and try and cover the whole thing. Now that's if I'm trying to duplicate something that's not all rusted to pieces. This thing here's the end, which I doubt if you can see, is gone. The middle's got holes in it. It's so rough that it would hardly hold tape that I would put on. But what I would do with that regardless, and you could do it on the inside here, you could put masking tape in there, and then after you take masking tape, you take nylon strapping tape and you zigzag, put the tape in this way. The masking tape can go lengthwise, just following the contour. Okay, cut around the bolts if you have to. And then take the other tape and go up and down with it with small pieces. And then run a piece lengthwise. And when you do that, you'll end up with a pattern that looks like this. Now, I didn't do this on that one, but I wanted to show you the pattern anyway. This is what the pattern would look like. And what you do is once you peel it off, I just spray it with primer, a rattle can primer, and it stops it from sticking to anything, because I really don't want it to stick, because it'll stretch it. But the nylon strapping tape, I'm hoping you can see that there, actually makes this a very strong pattern. So now I have a pattern that shows the gas tank indentation and also the shape, general shape of where it lands on the frame and stuff. You can see that it's a lot curved harder there than it is on this side where the gas tank is not. So you need to have that because you don't want to have trouble when you go to put this back together. So then all I did was I took this piece, and then I laid it on top of the steel, traced it out, and then I cut it. Now I cut it with a grinder. I don't like what a plasma cutter does to sheet metal on the edge. I don't like the way it heats it up and makes that hard edge. I'd rather have an edge that's more like the original steel. So what I'll do is I cut this out with a grinder, and you can see, like over here, let's see if you can see that, like in here, I'll take and grind that smooth, and I have them clamped together, and I'll just grind them so that they're the same piece. Something similar that you might do with woodwork. So I'll just clamp them together so the bases are the same where they rest, and then I'll just grind the general shape so that when it comes time to weld it, I can weld that in. Now a 2-inch, this thing is basically 2 inches wide. It spreads wider, as you can see there. It spreads wider at the end for more bearing surface, which is fine, but I'm going to put a 2-inch piece from probably right here down to the opposite end over here, and then I'll just widen that out where it sits on the frame with maybe, I think that's 4 inches wider, so it like doubles itself in width. But yeah, if you take green tape and you put that green tape on the side of a part that you want to copy, and then you take the nylon strapping tape and you run it on a diagonal across that, and then cut out the edges with a knife or scissors or whatever, you'll end up with a really good pattern that actually will last you quite a while. And then you can use that pattern to make more pieces. Now there's another way to measure, and what I did was this. Because this thing is so rusted, I took a level. Now this isn't a level, obviously, it's just a straight edge, but I took a level, put it across there. I called this 0 here at the beginning of where the frame is. And I measured over so far and measured down from the level, the bottom of the level, down to the part. And I do that like every 3 inches or wherever there's a bend in the part or some sort of contour. And then I would take that measurement, a right angle from here down. So in other words, I would take a flat sheet of sheet metal and measure down whatever those distances were. And that gives me the curvature of the bottom by putting the tape down inside, tape measure. By putting the tape measure on the top, it gives me the height from these mounts, which is where the bed mounts on, to the top of that piece. That is actually how I made this pattern this time, just because of how rusted that was. But like I say, if you took masking tape and you covered this whole thing up, okay, if you covered this whole thing and then you put this tape the opposite way and you tear that off, it'll keep its shape. And like I said, I spray it with primer, and the primer dries in a couple of minutes, especially in the sun. And the next thing you know, you've got a great pattern. It doesn't curl up too much, it doesn't lose its shape. You know, it certainly doesn't tear easy because of the nylon tape or the nylon strapping that runs through the tape. So that's one way of getting that the shape of these different cross members. I did that with the previous one as well, which now these are all bolted in place. Hey, Bullseye. These are all bolted in place here. What do you want to be in the video? So you can see that, those are fine. I don't have cross members welded to it anymore to do any to hold it, because it's already staying exactly the way I want it. So turning out pretty nice. Those parts that you saw that I was showing you how to measure with, they go right on the very edge here. Actually, one leg goes on here and another leg will go on another section of frame. So I'm going to have to soon start to get the rest of that frame taken care of. So anyway, yeah, back to this thing here. If you just take that tape and you lay it on the side of a part that you want to make, and I'll tell you what, you can even do it with these spring perches. If you take notice, excuse me with this camera, if you take notice to the spring perch there, all I have to do with this is take the bolt out of the spring and I can have a pattern on the outside or the inside, it doesn't matter, but I'll smooth it off a little bit and then I'll run tape around the whole outside edge or the inside edge, it doesn't matter which one, but the whole face. And then you put nylon strapping tape over that, and what it does is it'll tend to hold its shape a little bit, but you can lay it flat and you can figure out how much steel you need to make a shape like that. Because if making that shape and hammering that shape out would be kind of tough if you didn't know how big of a piece to start with. So I can take the nylon tape, go around that thing and come up with a nice part for that. Same thing with this little thing. I mean, obviously this could be made just from an angle iron, but if you really wanted to make it exact shape, okay, all you have to do is just cover a piece like that with tape, put the strapping tape on it, and that'll give you a good pattern. I know I'm going to have to do that. I'm going to have to do that with these things, because the bed mounts, because they're a little more intricate than what those little pieces are, and it holds the bed in the back as well as the cab, just maybe about 6 inches in there. It holds the cab as well. So that's where I'm at so far. Don't have a lot of views, don't really care about the views, that's not what I'm after. I'm just wanting to show people, you know, who may be having the same problem I have. I mean, this rusty frame on this truck, it's you know, like I said, this truck was, I think, $10,080 or something when I bought it brand new, and it just does not pay to go spending $45,000 to $50,000 on a truck. today. I don't know what happened with these prices. They're out of sight and they're ridiculous, especially for the length of the investment. I mean, you spend that money and it's gone in less than 10 years. I'm not going to have that. I'm not playing that game. So I don't mind rebuilding this thing just to make sure that I have something that's going to last. Okay, thanks for watching.